ways to learn and understand something is to kind of figure it out for yourself with someone there to help guide you. So one of the things that I'm going to do here is I'm going to call on you guys individually, and we're going to talk about each one of these topics in the title today, which is New Christians' Responsibilities to Others. So let's start out with the first area, and I'm going to call on Daniel Moriarty because he's not making eye contact. That's really good. Okay, Daniel, you got your Bible? All right. So the first thing that we need to understand, I think, when we're talking about New Christians' responsibilities is where you are as a Christian. And again, this is a fairly new Christian, and I understand that other people in the room that I may call on have a lot more knowledge, but we're going to try to come to this, reading these scriptures that I've listed here, come to an understanding of what the answers to these are. And so you have a new life, and you're a new creation. Daniel, can you read 2 Corinthians 5:17? And what does God's word say to you in that verse?
That now you are a new person, you walk a different way, you live a different way, you have a new life.
Do you think that's pretty tough as a new Christian to do that? It is. You may have made that decision, but it's tough to make that decision. So let's bring up another passage, Romans 6:4-6. If you can turn to that. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Right, so with that being said, Daniel, we understand we've got to have a new life, right? But the portion of that I think that the second passage explains really well is that it's got to be a complete transformation. It's got to be something completely different than what you're used to. You're no longer a slave to sin, as my version says. So you're not going to be that slave to sin. You're going to have that new life. So people understand that usually when they become Christians, but it becomes harder in application. Would you agree? Yeah, because of the stuff that we deal with every single day in the world. So, all right, thanks, Daniel. Appreciate it. We're going to go to Eric next. Eric, so the second topic, or the second point here is that you must put off your old life and you'll lose friends. Let's turn to 1 Peter 4:1-4.
For as much then as Christ has suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourself likewise with the same mind. For he that hath suffered in the flesh hath ceased from sin, that he no longer should live live the rest of his time in the flesh, of the lust of men, but to the will of God. For the time past of our life may suffice us, have brought the will of the Gentiles, when we walked in lasciviousness, lust, excess of wine, revelings, banquetings, and abominable idolatries, wherein they think it strange that you run not with them to the same excess of riot, seeking evil of you.
So, Eric, what does that message from God speak to you?
It's basically saying, man, as Christians, that we are going to be putting off the flesh. We're going to be putting off the things that we used to engage in, that we used to take pleasure in, that we used to enjoy. And as a result of that, people are going to think that it's kind of odd that we don't no longer want to do those things and engage in those things. And that as a result, that we're going to find some people are just going to see evil of us, and rather than really calling it how it is, man,
Right. He's a weirdo. He's a, you know, he's a Jesus freak. He's, you know, he's too much of a goody two-shoes, right?
And it is interesting too, and I know it's not included in there, but the scripture also tells us to beware lest everybody call you good
Right.
or well, you know, that you're and stuff. So we got to understand that even though we be certain that our light so shines as men, we can see our good works to our Father which is in heaven.
Right.
That there are people out there that are just going to speak evil of us. And everybody says, man, what a great guy we are, that there's probably something that we need to do some self-examination.
Amen. Right.
Probably making our lips say one thing to one person and another thing to another person.
Right.
So,
Jerry?
Talking to my niece's husband, Brian, in Portland. I guess he almost died here, Silver Legacy, from a drug overdose. And he was in LA, he had all his friends in LA, and he was managing a pool hall. And he knew one guy outside of LA that was in Portland, and he said, I gotta get away from my friends, get away from these guys, get out of this drugs. He gets to Portland.
Right.
And goes to Starbucks, and like meets Beth Cobb, she invites him to church. He became a Christian. He's he's a real good guy now. But if he hadn't got away from his friends, if they were drugging back into that drug scene, he had to get away from his old friends. He had to leave his old friends. And I talked to Bill Means, and the same thing happened to him. He had to get away from his bad influences,
Right.
off of the bad stuff, you know.
Right. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate that. That transition, it seems to me, a lot of times is one of the hardest things for new Christians to do, because they're going to lose friends, people that they thought were their friends, and maybe they weren't their friends. And one time, a long time ago, when I moved up to a supervisor position, I was told by another supervisor, you're going to lose friends, people that, but they aren't really your friends. And I think about that, you know, with Christianity. I have some friends that aren't Christians, and they're respectful of me being a Christian, and even don't tell bad jokes in front of me, and don't curse and things like that in front of me, although they do it amongst themselves all the time because they know that I'm a Christian. Now, I don't hang out with them all the time usually. You know, it's just in the work setting, but they are friends. And I try to talk to them about God and how they need to be saved. I keep telling this one guy over and over again, and I told him I'm never going to stop, even though he says to stop. Kevin.
Right, it says here you must put off your old life. Does that mean we have to change ourselves to fit a different lifestyle?
Yes, it does. And the different lifestyle is meaning that we have to become Christians and not want to do any of the stuff that is not, you know, of God, that is not the things that He wants us to do. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more, Kevin, in the discussion here. But thank you for the question. That's an excellent question. We'll address it a little bit more as we go along. So, yes, Rod. Right. Right. Repent means a complete change, a complete roundabout to just say, I will not do this again, and then don't do it again. Right? And many of us have fell back into different things, and then we just repent again and we continue to work towards not doing them. It's not like, you know, all of a sudden you become a Christian and then boom, you're just right there righteous and everything like that. Ken first and then. Right.
And when we were under before we became Christians, we were living for ourselves, and we're no longer living for ourselves.
Right, we're no longer living for ourselves. And we're also going to get into that a little bit more here. And I'll call on Bruce, and then we're going to get through that a little bit more. Ken, that's a great comment. Bruce.
So I would agree with your comment. It's when we become Christians, we don't instantly change. It's when we get baptized, it's sort of a rebirth, right?
Right.
So it's a growth cycle. I mean, we know the Lord knows that we're not going to be perfect at that point, and we shouldn't be discouraged. The blood of Christ always recovers, as you said. all we have to do again is we realize that we made a mistake, we ask for forgiveness, we keep promising to try to not do that again, and ultimately it becomes easier, and then ultimately it becomes part of you. And so it's all part of the growth cycle.
Right.
It's not an instantaneous change.
Right.
So I just wanna,
Yeah. Thanks, Bruce. I want to, yeah, brother.
It's kind of like a restoring an old car. The best thing they can do for an old rusty car is dip it in an acid tank.
Right. Get rid of all the old. So that's a great segue to the next point here. And Dan, you volunteered yourself. So, the next point here is that you should have a new attitude towards sin, and we should hate it. There's a few verses here. So, Dan, why don't you read one, and then I'll read the second one, and so on and so forth, and we'll alternate off.
Is that 2 Timothy?
Yes, 2 Timothy 2:19, please.
Nevertheless, the firm foundation of God stands, having this seal. The Lord knows those who are his, and everyone who names the name of the Lord is to abstain.
And then we're going to go to Romans 6, 1 through 2. Romans 6, 1 through 2. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin, that grace may abound? Certainly not. How shall we who died to sin live any longer in it? We all know that one pretty good. Dan, 2 Corinthians 7, 1, please.
Therefore, having these promises, beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all defilement of flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God.
Right. And then Romans 12:9 says, 12:9 says, let love be without hypocrisy. Abhor what is evil, cling to what is good. And then, Dan, if you can finish it out in Jude 23.
Save others, snatching them out of the fire, and on some have mercy through fear, eating even the garment polluted by the flesh.
Right, what do you see in all these passages? And I'll kind of chime in here a little bit.
Well, the last one I just read was, you got to get close enough to people to snatch them out of the fire. That means you might get singed a little bit. There's some pain involved. It's not an easy, laid-back task. Sometimes dealing with people, it can be an absolute pain in the neck.
Yep.
Getting them to stop. They keep saying things like, well, I'm sorry, I got caught again, or I'm working on it, or what are you buying there, dude? I seen you come out of the store again with something you shouldn't. You know, they just won't quit it. So, previous verses, I believe to the best of our knowledge, as we grow and become more mature every week, the things that we learn that are wrong as we come upon them, those are the things everything's not fixed when we come up out of the water. So as we grow, we turn, we abstain from those things that we come to know, or think people, our friends, will point out, hey, you're not doing, that's not good what you're doing. Kind of like Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, said, the thing you're doing is not good. You need some help.
Right.
And so our spiritual advisors around us help us to grow. They're not coming down on us or being mean. They're just letting us know, hey, can't do that anymore.
Right. The change over to that hate of what is evil isn't always obvious. There's some things that are not right and they're evil and we're supposed to hate them, but at the time we don't know that they're wrong. Sometimes as we study more and become more knowledgeable in the Bible, as a lot of people in here are, and I'm trying to be very simple in this, and that is we understand each day, day by day, different things. I remember, movies that I used to watch as a kid and I thought they were great. And then as a Christian, I watch it and I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize that it was like that, or, something happens, that you used to do, and then you realize that it's not something that you should do in the future. it's all a change of mindset, and that's what we're going to talk about here a little bit more. And first, Wayne.
I like the reading there in 2 Corinthians 7:1. Therefore, having these promises, beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all defilement of the flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God. And so, we have a personal responsibility to cleanse ourselves.
Right.
A personal responsibility. And when we cleanse ourselves from the defilement of flesh and spirit, we can perfect holiness. It's got to be both flesh and spirit.
Right.
And it's done in the fear of God. You know, we love God, but we still fear Him. And love and fear are the two probably strongest emotional things we deal with. And
Right.
of course, love is the strongest because we'll do what God wants even though we can't see Him. Like we do a policeman or something like that on the road.
Excellent point. Yes. Thanks, Wayne. I want, you know, there are a lot of things in here that kind of will touch on some of those things, like you brought that point up, Wayne. I want to try to, if we can, so I can get through this study in the allotted time, if we can just individually, the people that I call on, if we could, if you guys have another point, that's great. I'd love you to bring it up. I just would like to keep it pretty simple because there's going to be a lot more that we're going to talk about here, that I want to make this, again, as if we were talking to a brand new Christian, so that, you know, that they understand what they're actually reading and that they can write down on these lines here exactly what they want to say. And excellent comments, no question that a lot of people in the room have a lot of knowledge about this. I just want to try to get, you know, get it forward in that fashion if we could. It's great that everybody's passionate about this. So the next point, Jeremy, can you help me out with the next point there, Mr. Waller? Okay, sounds good. So the next point is you'll have new relationships. New relationships. Specifically, subpoint is with God. Can you read Romans 8:14 through 17? And then I'll do Galatians.
Because those who are led by the Spirit of God are sons of God. For you did not receive the spirit that makes you a slave again to fear, but you are received the spirit of sonship. And by Him we cry, Abba, Father. The Spirit Himself testifies with our spirit that we are God's children. Now, if we are children, then we are heirs, heirs to God, and co-heirs with Christ, if in need we share His sufferings, in order that we may also share in His glory.
Right. So not only are we children of God, but we're His heirs. That's like taking a person that has done so many things like we have done in our lives, and not only making him your child, but making him the person that inherits everything that you have, making them your heir. The next one here was Galatians 3:26 and 27. For you are all sons of God through faith in Jesus Christ. For as many of you as were baptized into Christ have put on Christ, clothed yourself with Christ. And then finally, 1 John 3:1 and 2, please.
How great is the love the Father has lavished on us, that we should be called children of God, and that is what we are called.
Right, so we are His children. We are sons of God, heirs of Him. So that's pretty powerful. He's not just saying, hang out with me. He's saying, be in my family. Be my heir.
Everything that He has, we get too.
That's right.
That's what He wants.
That's right. Absolutely. He wants us to have everything that He has, as far as in heaven. All right, so Rod, can you help me out with the next point? So again, you'll have new relationships. Jeremy talked about, or we read about, with God, now with the world, Rod. So if you could please read Philippians 3:20. No problem.
Philippians 3:20, for our citizenship is in heaven, from which we also eagerly wait for the Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ.
And then the next one is 1 Peter 2:11. I'll read that one. Beloved, I beg you, as sojourners and pilgrims, abstain from fleshly lusts, which war against the soul. What do those two scriptures tell you, Ron?
Well, when you become a Christian, you no longer do the things the world does, because you're a citizen of heaven.
Right.
And our example is Jesus Christ. And when we become a Christian, we should, as the scripture said, we should no longer make provisions for the flesh that we did when we were in the world, and that we should live according to the example of Christ.
Right. Our citizenship is in heaven, as you brought forward there. That's totally true. Have you ever thought of, Rod, I don't know if you travel very much for business, but I know that I have been traveling, to do a presentation or a class like that. And then at the end of that travel time, you're maybe excited about going there and everything like that. But the one thing I want to do is get back home, get back with my family. And a lot of times, that's kind of what I think that they're talking about here. And abstaining from lusts that war with your soul, I mean, that's something that I work on a daily basis. And I know a new Christian really has a lot of problems with that in their heart, because I know old Christians do, and I'm an old Christian. You just have all of that in there, and it wars with you. Anything else that? Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. So next, if we could have Jason Casey, please, could you help me out with the next point? So again, you have a new relationship. You have new relationships with God, with the world, in that we want to separate ourselves from that. If it's worldly, we want to separate ourselves from that relationship. And then, Jason, with other Christians, if you could read Mark 10:29 and 30.
So Jesus answered and said, assuredly I say to you, there is no one who has left house, or brothers, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands for my sake and the gospel, who shall not receive 100-fold now in this time, houses, and brothers, and sisters, and mothers, and children, and lands, with persecutions, and in the age to come, eternal life.
Wow. What does that say to you there, Jason?
Oh, you gain so much more through
For
Christ.
sure. So Jeremy said earlier, with God, you're one of his heirs, but it's not just that. It's 100-fold of what your family is. Sometimes they say, there's sayings in the world, blood is thicker than water, meaning that your family is, will come through for you in times of trouble. Man, I can tell you that people in this church have come through in times of trouble way more than my family has.
But it's what you gain.
Right.
How many here know Slavic in the Ukraine? Anybody? You go to Ukraine, I guarantee you've got a place to stay, or you've got brothers and sisters that are there. You go to Belarus, there are brothers and sisters that you've never met that are there. You got a place to stay. It's just that way all over the world.
Right.
You've gained so much greater things in people, relationships, through Christ than you ever hope to gain through the world.
How powerful can that be to new Christians? To a person that's just like kind of stepping into that? How many times do we see people come into the congregation here as visitors and they don't have that? And that it kind of puts them off a little bit that you would be that accepting of them. But it's so powerful to people that really experience that. So to a new Christian, you know, we're talking about that power of the family, of being able to, you know, help them with anything that they need. Yeah, 100-fold, God says, which is awesome. Jerry, if you could help me with the next main point here. And now you'll have new responsibilities as a Christian, and this is the kind of the crux of what we're talking about today, is a responsibility to others. Now let's talk a little bit about the responsibilities to God. Jerry, if you could read Matthew 4:10, please.
And Jesus said to him, Behold, begone, Satan, for it is written, You shall worship the Lord your God and serve him only.
Serve him only. Just him, no one else, nothing else. And then 1 Corinthians 6:19 and 20 says, Or do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from God, and you are not your own? For you were bought with a price. Therefore, glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. He owns you. He bought you with the price. And then the last one there, the last one there is Romans 12:1 and 2, Jerry.
I urge you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies a living and holy sacrifice, acceptable to God, in which is your spiritual service of worship. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may prove what the will of God is, and that which is good and acceptable and perfect.
Right, so Jerry, what does that say to the new Christian? I know you're one of the elders here and you know a lot, but what does that say to the new Christian?
Well, I think the concept of being a purchased slave of Christ, if you just take in the attitude that you're no longer ownership of yourself, the devil doesn't own you, but God owns you.
Right.
Everything you do, everything you speak should be in service to your master, Jesus. And you're a slave, a voluntary slave of the Lord, and it affects every decision, the way you dress, who you talk to, how you speak. And of course, many times when we do things, we're thinking in terms of selfishness instead of thinking in terms of what Christ would like us to do. And it's sometimes we make bad decisions, but if you keep in mind that you're a slave of Christ, it helps you make proper decisions, because you think, let's see, does Christ want me to wear a bright red hat today? I'm just
Yeah, right.
maybe that's not. Maybe he wants me to be less obnoxious and just wear a brown hat. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. But something that's clearer in the Bible, you know, that he definitely, you know what he wants you to do. He wants you to abstain from.
Your subjective questions are affected by your new responsibility as a slave of Christ. Everything you do is you're a slave of Christ, and you want to reflect positively for your master.
Right.
So
it's no longer I can do what I want to do. It's my prerogative. I'm the one who, you know. Yeah, you can do what you want to do if it's biblical, if it's something that.
It's supposed to be what Christ wants you to do is what you want to do.
Right. Right. That's great, Jerry. That's excellent there. What Christ wants you to do is what you should want to do. That should be doing what you want to do. Right, because he bought you with the price. Right? Bruce, maybe you could help me with the next point here. And again, you have new responsibilities. We talked about with Jerry to God. Now let's talk about with you, Bruce, to the world. If you could read Matthew 5:13 and 16, and then I'll read Mark.
he sees them, it is then good for nothing but to be thrown out and trampled underfoot.
And
You are the light of the
yes.
world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do they light a lamp, put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven.
Right. And let me read this next one, and then we'll comment on it or hear what you have to say about that. Mark 16:15 and 16 says, "And he said to them, go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. He who believes and is baptized will be saved. He who does not believe will be condemned." So what do you get from that, Bruce?
Well, first off, we have a responsibility to our Savior, who saves us, that we can get that word out to the rest of the world. We always use this terminology, this is a dark, fallen world, which it is. Well, I mean, Christ has us here for a reason. You know,
Right.
there's various verses in the Bible written that, you know, our names are written in the book of life before we're even made. And we have a purpose to serve, because God calls us. He doesn't call everybody. There's another one that Jesus says is, wide is the gate that leads to damnation, but narrow is the way that leads to salvation.
Right.
It means to me that many of us are predetermined or chosen to become soldiers or heralds for Christ. And our job is to not only bring the word out there, but we have to show that way, not only in the word, but in deed and in the principles that we live by. The way we take care of ourselves, our families. We have to lead by word and example. We can't
Right.
just simply say that, hey, Christ is my Savior, and then go act stupidly, go get drunk or do something
Yeah.
wrong. We have to show all the rest of the world that, hey, there's a better way. Don't just wallow in the filth or the damnation or the doom that you feel in this world, but turn around and come on, hey, I'm showing you a path to get out of here. You know what? Because I love this image that here I am reaching my hand out for you. You know what? Christ is holding on to me over here.
Right.
I'm trying to pull you out of the pit.
Right.
That's what I kind of
Bruce, I really appreciate your comments there because one of the things that you said there, I mean, there's a lot of topics that you brought up in that, but one of the things you said there is right on point, and that is that it is our job. A lot of people don't, a lot of Christians or people that proclaim to be Christians, not many in this congregation, but they feel like, well, I'm living a good life, I'm coming to church, I'm doing what I need to do to be a good Christian, and maybe I'm setting an example, but they aren't really working. They aren't really getting out there and talking to people, doing the hard stuff, the stuff that's, you know, it's not going to be easy to make this comment in this crowd with these kind of people here. It's not going to be easy to do that. I like, it's been a really long time ago, brother, that you preached a sermon on being around people who are cussing and saying stuff like that, and how we shouldn't just completely go, oh, you know, freak out about it, because Jesus was also down there with the publicans and the people who, and that's a long time ago that you presented that, but I still remember it to this day that sometimes you are in that environment, and I'm not talking about drinking, and I'm not talking about carousing and things like that. I'm just talking about being around people like that. You might have the best opportunity to make statements to them or to show that light, Bruce, like what you were saying, in that environment, that other people might come to you, and they may not do it because they may be embarrassed to say it in front of everybody there, but I've had people talk to me later in a different, you know, at a different time, come to me and say, hey, you know, you weren't participating in this there, you know. And so being that light that shines in the darkness, like you put it, Bruce. So I really like that point. So even if you preach a long time ago, it gets remembered sometimes. All right. So let's see. Bert or Matthew? Matthew first. Matthew, can you help me out with the last subtopic of you'll have new responsibilities to God, to the world, And now to other Christians, can you please read Galatians 6:2?
Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ.
So I know it's a short verse there, but what does that mean to you?
It means now that we're a Christian, our responsibility is to our brothers and sisters. This is our family now. So when you see someone in need, you help them in any way you can. You have responsibility in that one. They're your fellow Christians.
Right, you have to help them out, right? It's not, hey, help them out, but help them out if you can. It's you must. I think about, military or something that you see, even the world understands this is a good thing to do. Somebody's trying to carry something and you run over there and you grab it for them. I think about, in the military, putting their arm around your shoulder or maybe even carrying them to a location, bearing their burdens. That's the physical side of it. But we're talking about the emotional side that is so much heavier in the heart to bear those burdens. So being alongside them, and I know in first responders we're talking about it, being in the trenches with them. When I was on SWAT, we were in the trenches together. We went through some bad, hairy situations that we could have lost, our life in that situation. And I'm sure other people as first responders, and especially with police force, Eric, you probably have experienced that you have that special bond between people that have really been in a bad situation together and could really count on each other. Of course, as a Christian, there's even more of those situations, and you have that relationship that you build. Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate that. And then, Bert, if you could help me with this next point, and that you have a new passion and goal. If you could read 1 John 2, number 6, please. 2nd chapter, 6th verse.
Okay. The one who says he abides in him ought to himself walk in the same manner as he walked.
Right, and then also Revelation 3, 15 and 16, please. That's all right.
Yeah, okay, I know your deeds, that you are neither cold nor hot. I wish that you were cold or hot. So because you are lukewarm and neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth.
Right. Man, that's a really strong one to me. That's one of them that I just kind of put on the crux of this. This is sort of like the conclusion, but this is more like a charge. You say you're a Christian, prove it. Right? What else do you get out of this?
Well, when you say that Jesus Christ is your Savior, you're also you have to say that He's your Lord. And when He's your Lord,
right.
God tells you how to live, what God, as God, what He created you for.
Absolutely.
What your new goal in life is, what your new purpose and that you walk in. And basically if you're not walking in it, then you're really not in it at all.
Right. You're either in it or out of it. There is no middle ground. It's you're 100% either one way or the other.
But it's a passion. And if you're not
it's a passion
about it, if you're not actually animated, if you're not actually thinking about it as a goal and sorry when you fail, or, you confess, you get back up and you keep going, but with zeal, then people will look at it and they'll see it. God sees it even more, but even people will see that, this guy's just going through motions.
Right.
So this is how, and Christ lays it right out in Revelation.
Walk the walk. Don't just talk the talk.
Yeah, you're just, you're sick of this stuff because that's not what He wants you to be. He doesn't want you to just pretend.
Absolutely.
So
I agree.
Find it in your heart. Set your heart on things above. And that's what I do.
Great. Thanks, Bruce. Or Thanks, Bert. Anyway, so we're almost out of time here, so let me get into this last. I want to create a mission statement, but Jesus gave us the greatest mission statement in Matthew 22:36 through 40, and that is, he was asked, "Teacher, which is the greatest commandment of the law?" Jesus said unto them, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like it, you will love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang the law of the prophets." That really is the mission statement of what we do, a short and sweet statement that Jesus gave us. But I would like for you guys to, not now, but spend some time writing down your own Christian mission, what that will be. And some of the things that you need to ask yourself and then go to it is that, who are you? What do you stand for? What are you working toward? What are you working toward? How are you going to achieve that? Walk the walk and take action. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.